Welcome, and thank you for standing by. At this time, all participants are in listen-only mode. During the question-and-answer portion, please press star 1 on your touch-tone phone. Today's conference is being recorded. If you have any objections, you may disconnect at this time. I now turn today's meeting over to Lauren Christopher. You may now begin.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this second webinar that will focus on using the new online data collection system to submit your required LIHEAP reports for fiscal year 2014. We really want to extend our gratitude to all of you for the patience that you've been showing in getting to use the system and submitting your carryover reports for fiscal year 2013. And we know that you've been reaching out to our staff and to the OLDC help desk to make sure that you have your usernames and passwords and that you're able to get all the forms in the system. So we appreciate your patience with that. So for some of you, if you were on that last webinar, this will be a bit of a refresher, the first part that I'll cover on how to technically navigate through the OLDC system. And for the second part of the webinar, I'm going to turn to Farah Uchar, who is with Apprise Incorporated, and he will walk through more of the substance of the household report, which is due September 1st this year, and which we're asking everyone to submit to us through OLDC. And time permitting, we will walk through a live demo of the site and show you how to access the plan and program integrity assessment from our site and be able to upload those with your household reports in the OLDC system. So that's our agenda for today. We are going to have a Q&A session at the end. Our goal is to get through this within an hour and then open it up for questions. And so we will get started. Before I do so, though, I'd like to briefly introduce Farah Uchar. Many of you have probably met him or worked with him by phone. He was also a presenter at our grantee training meeting in San Diego in June. Farah has been with Apprise for approximately 5 years. He's a senior project director and has a background in economics and mathematics. He, in addition to doing a lot of statistical work for LIHEAP for our office, he also has worked on the evaluation of the Weatherization Assistance Program for the Department of Energy. So thank you, Farah, for joining us today. So I'm going to move fairly quickly through this beginning part. Again, this is intended to be a refresher on how to navigate through OLDC. If there are sections that are not clear to you, or if you had missed this part of the webinar that we did last month for the carryover report, please save your questions and ask them at the end of this presentation, and I can go back over anything that is not clear. So again, our main reason for using OLDC moving forward is to make our work both more efficient on our end in reviewing all of your documents and having access to the data moving forward, as well as to make it more efficient on your end so that you can access your records in the future and to have the notifications from our office as to when the reviews are completed and things are accepted by us. So as you may be aware, there are different roles that you can be assigned in the OLDC system. By this point, every grantee has access to the OLDC system. At least one person was designated for each of our grantees to have the grant administrator job type, and that is the highest level access that non-federal people can have to the OLDC system. It has all roles available to them. So the grant administrator can start a report, they can edit a report, they can certify and validate and submit the report. Additionally, the grant administrator can create additional OLDC accounts for other staff in their office. And you can designate which job type you want them to have, which will then determine which roles and functions will be available to them in the OLDC system. So if you want someone to have just a view-only access to be able to kind of track when your reports have been reviewed and accepted by our office, you can have a staff person have that function in OLDC. And the grant administrator does have the permission in OLDC to create those accounts directly for yourselves. So we understand that there were some technical issues with people receiving their username and passwords, and we apologize for those difficulties. But you should have received 2 separate emails from a generic email account from our IT department. One email would have had your username and one with your password. And I know a lot of you have been contacting our liaisons here if you did not see those emails or did not receive them, to have our staff assist in giving you your username or resending you your temporary password. So if you have not done so already and you have not seen those emails, do please contact our liaison here in the office for your region to get that information and test your access to the system. Once you log in for the first time, as I'll go over in a little more detail later on, you will be prompted to change your temporary password, and there are several rules that you need to be mindful of what a new password will be allowed by the system. Some of the emails may have gone to junk mail folders, so you might want to check that folder in your email system as well to see if it may have gone there. Also, please make sure you turn off spam blockers and your pop-up blockers, because that will prevent you from being able to fully access the OLD system as well as these emails. So here's the URL that you would use to access the live system, extranet.acf.hhs.gov/SSI/. You can save that to your favorites list or your favorites bar for easy access in the future. And we do ask that when you have your username and once you have set up your permanent password, that you save those somewhere in a secure location, whether you write them down on a piece of paper and lock it away in your desk so that you'll have that to refer to. And we do remind you that passwords do need to be updated every 60 days. So here's a screenshot of what the first page looks like for you to log in. It says, "Welcome to Secure Sign-In." This is basically a web portal that gives access to all the different secure databases and systems that ACF, our agency, has. And so depending on which ones you have access to, you'll get once you log in here, you'll get a separate screen that gives you the options of which systems to access. So you can see on the right-hand side of the screen, you would enter your username and your password and click the login button beneath that. Here's a screenshot letting you know that you've entered a temporary password and that you're going to be prompted to change to a permanent password that will be good for the next 60 days. It's reminding you of some of the features that your password will have to have. It has to be at least 9 characters long. There must be at least 1 character that is uppercase and 1 character that is lowercase. There must be at least 1 number, 1 letter, and there must be at least 1 special character. And there are limits as to which special characters will work, the pound sign, underscore, and the $sign. So again, here's what the screen will look like for you to enter the temporary password as your current password and then to select a new password. And then you'll have to repeat the new password under the line that says Confirm New Password and then click the Change Password button. Again, you must change your password every 60 days for that to remain active. If you have a problem, if your account gets disabled for some reason, again, you can contact the OLDC help desk or your liaison with our office. The first time you log in, you will also be asked to set up a challenge question. This is if you forget your password, you select which question and you provide the answer, and then if you forget your password, you can click on the link for help and it will give you your question, and if you answer correctly, then it will allow you to reset your password. So once you're logged into the Secure Sign-In, it brings you to this screen, and this is where I was mentioning that under the Select Application section, it will list any system that you've been granted access to. For most of you, that will probably just be the OLDC system. And so you can see that's the one option listed here in the center of the screen. The part that is circled in red on the left-hand side shows you how you can change your password or change your challenge question at any time once you're in the system if you wish to do so. So once you're at the screen, you'll want to press the blue bar that says OLDC, and that will then pop up a second Internet browser screen that has just the OLDC system active in it. Again, you'll have to have your pop-up blocker turned off in order to access the OLDC screen. And this is what it looks like. You can see on the top right-hand side there are links for exiting out of OLDC called End OLDC. On the center part, the left side of the yellow bar has the links to the different actions that you can take in OLDC. And the ones that you will use most frequently are the top one for report form entry, the End OLDC, and if you need any help, you'll actually go to the bottom link that says News and Tips, and I'll talk about that more a little later on.